So you should be ready to start building an app. Let's hit the Start a New Android Project button and name it anything you'd like. I'm going to call mine Examples. The company domain is not important if you're not going to publish this app. You'll see this is where we select the API we want to support, and we are going to use 19. If you haven't installed the SDKs for API 19 and above, look in the description for a link to a video that shows you how. We'll use an empty activity, and we're going to leave the activity name and the layout name as is. We are going to uncheck the backwards compatibility, and basically what that does is that allows apps that might be like API 14 or 10 to download our app. That's for another time. And finish. Android Studio will look something like this. The first thing I want to do is just run the app, see what it looks like. This is where you should see, at the very least, a virtual device. If you don't have one, you can also look at the description for video on how to create one. And this is just going to use the virtual device I have running right now. And you see, it's just an app that says Hello World. So let's go take a look at what's creating this. And before we dive into the code, something I like to do when I start a new app is change this project tab from the Android view to the project view. And you'll see this will show you a better structure of the views and represent the folders better. So from here we'll go into app, source, main, and this is where you'll spend most of your time in Android development. You have a Java folder and a resource folder. We'll go over the Android manifest a little bit later when we talk about activities. So for now, if you look inside the Java folder, it has the package we made earlier, and that contains the activity that was generated for us called main activity. And main activity extends activity. We'll discuss activities a lot more in another video. If you'd like to read about them, Google has this really nice page, which I'll have a link for in the description. And if you scroll through it, you'll eventually see this image, and this image shows you the lifecycle events that an activity goes through. And it has things like onCreate, onStart, onResume, etc. These will automatically be called as your app is running. So the most important thing to note is onCreate, and that's what this video is going to go through a little bit of. And the reason onCreate is so important is because that is where you define the view you want your activity to use. And an activity is basically the screen that the phone shows. So basically it's all of this, this action bar with the name of the app, the image for the app logo or the app icon, this hello world text, this entire view. Everything is inside of this main activity. And main activity is setting its content view to r.layout.activity_main. And this is just an auto-generated ID for a layout file called activity_main.xml. And you'll see that file in the resources, layouts, and right there. So anytime you make a resource in this layout folder, it can be referenced as r.layout.name of the file. If we double click that file, go into it, you can see it is, you might see the text tab or the design tab, which down here you can switch between them. In the design tab, you basically see what the phone saw or showed, and in the text tab you see the XML that is creating the view. Right now it's just a relative layout that contains a text view, and that text view says hello world. Now, a relative layout is considered, or it's a view group, and view groups contain views. View groups also are views, so Google also has a nice page, which I'll put in the description, that explains view groups as well, and views. Some common views and view groups to use are seen in this Layouts tab, and they are linear layouts, relative layouts, and frame layouts. I haven't used the new constraint layout yet, but I'm sure that will be used as well. And now if we go back to the text tab, what I want to do is switch this relative layout to a linear layout. It's a little bit easier to work with. And we're going to define an orientation of vertical, and that just means put all the child views on top of one another. And the child view that we're going to add is an edit text, also known as a text field or plain text. And we're going to add a button. And what we want to do is make the value entered into the edit text move into the text view when somebody presses the button. And now we need to just, if we go back to the text, you'll see the edit text has an ID, the button has an ID, because we drag those in. We need to give the text view an ID. Quick thing to note here is any new ID has this @+ID/ and then the name of it. So for the text view, we'll start adding that property ID. It gets suggested, so you can just hit enter, and we'll name it activity_main_text view. And I want to copy this activity_main to the edit text and the button, so we know, this way we don't confuse views that might also have buttons later on. So now we'll go back to the main activity.java, and let's start referencing these views. And the way you do that is, let's start with the text view. Find view by ID. Alright, so a lot of things going on here. First thing that we should note is that an activity has a method called findViewById, and that is going to do exactly what it's saying. It's going to find a view inside of the layout file used at setContentView with the ID provided here. And just like the layout files generate their own IDs with r.layout, IDs within those layout files generate IDs with r.id, name of the ID. And you can hold down Command and click that ID, and it will take you to where it's defined in the XML file. The next thing to notice is findViewById returns a view object, and a text view extends view. So that's why we can cast this into a text view. And we'll do the same thing for every view we ever add that is not an actual view object. So now for the button, and you just might want to notice that button extends text view. And edit text, that also extends text view. Alright, so now that we've referenced the views in our layout file, let's actually give them actions to perform. So the first thing we want to do is tell the button to listen for click events. So you do that by calling its set onClickListener method, and as soon as I start typing out new and then the letter O, it will suggest the interface that I'm supposed to provide, and I'll hit enter, and it will autofill that for me. Now I want to take the text inside of the edit text, and store that in a string. An edit text has a getText method that has a toString method that'll convert it into the text that's typed out inside of it. And then we'll just append a new line to it. And then we'll clear what's inside of the edit text, and you can do that with its setText method, and we can just pass null into there, and that'll reset it. Now we want to tell the text view to update with that text. But I don't want to clear out what's already in the text view, so I'm going to add that on by using textView.getText plus text. And yeah, it's going to warn you not to concatenate strings in a normal production app. Yeah, don't do that. For the purposes of this example, we can just ignore that. So now let's run the app again to update our virtual device. So looks like the edit text starts with some text in it already. So if I hit the button, you'll see it appends the name. Now if I type in another name, name had that new line appended to it, and it pushed the name droid down, and it'll just keep doing that. And it'll also put new lines if you just press it. So that was a quick introduction to views and click listeners. In the next video, I think we'll do activities and adding more activities so you can have different screens. If you have any questions or want to see anything else, just let me know in the comments below.